What's up, brother? Welcome to Trust Me, Bro. How you doing tonight?
Good, brother. How you doing?
Pretty good. Just watched the rest of that Bills game tonight, and pretty ugly game overall. But man, I can't believe they lost that on having 12 men on the field there and giving them a second chance at that field goal. Man, that's just stupid, ugly.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. They were just trying to
Yep.
lose that game all night.
Yep. Yeah, I know,
They
right? Yeah, they
finally
look
found a
pretty
way at the
bad.
end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
not
don't get their
good.
angle, but yeah, I don't know what they're angling for, but I guess they wanted to be what? What are they now? 5-4,
Five,
five and
yeah,
five.
5-5. Yeah, they're through
Yeah,
10 games or 5-5. So yeah, they're 500. So not looking
yeah,
great. But I think Javonte Williams looked pretty good. He looked pretty solid as a running back. I think he had 21 fantasy points for me in one of my squads. So happy to see that.
yeah, yeah. He did, man. He had a good night.
Yep, he's turning it on. So looks like Josh Allen got to be right
Yeah,
under 20. I think 19.8 or something like that. So yeah, good enough. That'll work.
yeah,
Yeah. So how'd you do overall for
yep.
the weekend?
Not so good, man. Not so good. Looks like I'll be able to pull one win out this week. So,
One. Okay.
um,
1-3.
did 1-3.
All
How about yourself?
right. 2-2. So I'm a glass half full guy. So I look at that as pretty positive. So
Yeah,
happy to win two at least. So better than not winning any. So
yeah,
I'll take them.
yeah. Yep.
So all right.
For sure, brother.
Well,
You'll
let's.
take that.
Yep. So let's talk about some players that we like this weekend that we see out there on the waiver wire. I only got one QB. How about you, brother?
I only had one. I threw another one on here though, and we'll talk about it. Um,
Okay.
you want me to start off?
Yeah, go ahead and start us off because I've only got one myself. So,
Yeah, yeah. What you got?
Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, he's only 16% owned. He told a reporter yesterday that he's eyeing a mid-December return, and so the thought here is to pick him up, and if you happen to have an empty IR slot, and then just throw him there in the IR slot. Let's just say you're rolling with Mahomes or something like that, or one of these good QBs, and then let's just say something happens, a month from now, and you end up losing Mahomes to ACL. Who knows, man? Anything. But anyway, I think it'd be nice to have him just sitting in the IR slot, not costing you a bench spot, but just there, just in case you need it. It's just as a backup, backup quarter. I don't really like carrying backup quarterbacks, especially after my QB's had his bye. But this is kind of a free backup, kind of like I was doing with Kyler Murray all season, and I finally got to play him, this week with Mahomes on bye. So that worked out pretty good.
Yeah. Um, man, our audio quality was a little crappy. Who'd you say?
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, just to
Nice.
stick him in the IR slot, just in case something happens to Pat Mahomes or whoever you got as your starter, just
Yeah.
insurance plan for the next month.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a bad call. Not a bad call at all. Well, cool. Well, I've got a couple. Josh Dobbs, he's still 39% owned.
Yep.
Like what we're seeing there in Minnesota.
Yeah.
He went 268 for one tutty, another 44 yards rushing, and another touchdown. And I mean, he seems to
Yep.
always be grabbing 40, 50 yards rushing. Maybe
Yes.
good for a touchdown every now and every other game or so rushing.
Yeah. For
Um,
sure.
he's a scrapper, man, and they're gonna have to ride with him. So, and he's putting up some decent fantasy points. So I kind of like him.
Yeah, yeah, same here. I actually picked him up in my work league because I was rolling with Carr, and so right there at the last minute, I dropped Carr and picked up Dobbs and threw him in. and it worked out pretty good for me. I think he got me like 26 points, and like you said, he's been rushing for at least 40 every week, so
Yep.
that gives you 4 points right there. And then if he happens to rush in a touchdown, you combine that 40 with the 6 point touchdown, there's 10 points right there. He's getting you.
That's right.
And so, yeah, he looks good. But I thought he played a good game. His next game he's got on the schedule is actually pretty good too. I forget if it's Denver or who it was, but I remember looking at the next game thinking, yeah, that's going to be a good one too for Week 11. So
Yeah.
yeah, good pickup right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And then another one, just kind of looking at, kind of feeling like, your downsides, maybe 12 points or so. But Matt Stafford's 30% owned.
Yeah,
He's got quite a bit of targets. It's a matter of time before him and Cup get it going this year. I think
sure.
I don't even know if he's thrown 2 touchdowns in a game so far this year. Maybe once. So
Right.
it's really just been about 1 touchdown a game. That's got to change at some point. Kyron Williams is coming back soon here, so just
Yep.
coming off a bye. I mean, I know he's got the thumb injury, but I think it's a matter of time before they kind of get their offense rolling a little bit better.
Yeah, I totally agree. I sure hope it gets rolling. I'm a Cup owner, and 3 weeks in a
Yep.
row of 6 points, man, it was tough. But I'm glad that they're coming off a bye, like you just said, and hopefully his thumb is healed. I don't think it was as serious as Fields' thumb injury. So
No.
yeah, if you get the two of them on the same page with Puka out there, and I think they'll be all right. So
Hmm.
should have a good second half of the season with Stafford. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
Okay. So that rounds out quarterbacks. I've got, let's see, 3 running backs I wrote down. How about you?
Yeah. I've got 3 as well.
Okay. I'll go ahead and start off with the first running back I wrote down. Devin Singletary for the Texans, 50% owned. We've been down on him for, last year and all of this year too, calling him single digit Singletary. I guess he heard us and decided to prove us wrong because he
Yeah.
must be one of those 5 views we got last
Yeah.
week because
Yeah. I think so.
he went off, man. 30 rushes. So they definitely handed him the rock this game for 150 yards and a touchdown. So yeah,
Yeah.
he had probably the game of his life this past week. So you can't ignore that. I mean, let's see him do it again. But yeah,
Yeah.
as barren as it is out there for the running back, um, market, I think he might be worth a shot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he definitely had a really good game.
Yep.
See how many more times he can repeat that this year. But you're right. It's hard to argue with it. 26
Yep.
points.
Yeah, the usage is what really caught my eye. 30
Yeah.
carries, man. They're definitely feeding him the rock, so see if
Yeah.
that continues.
And Pierce was out this game, so I think that kind of
Yep.
helped with his usage. But Pierce really hasn't been effective
Right.
either. So neither
Yeah.
of them really have this year.
Right.
But that offense is rolling, man. And
Yep.
at some point they're gonna have to run the ball as well. Can't just
Yeah,
always be throwing it.
exactly.
So yeah,
So,
we'll see. I like Keaton Mitchell, 23%
yep.
owned. He had one nice little scamper for a tutty. Other than that, not a whole lot of production on the ground. Another
Mhm.
catch for 32 yards. Man, he's explosive. They've got to be
Yep.
they've got to start to figure out how to get that guy the ball more.
Yeah.
Gus Bus is all right. And he seems to still be getting in the end zone, but Keaton Mitchell's
Right.
got some wheels on him, man. So I think they've got to start.
Yeah.
They got to start figuring out how to get that dude the ball.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, we talked about Keaton Mitchell last week as far
Yeah.
as, to try to give him in the Pollard role, that Pollard had for the Cowboys last year, where, Gus Bus would be similar to Easy E, where he's just pounding the D line. And then, when they're tired and, pass the ball or hand it off real quick to Keaton Mitchell and watch him do his magic. So,
Yeah.
be a winning formula for Baltimore.
100%.
So, yep. All right. Good pick. All right, next up, I've got Ty J. Spears for the Titans. He's only 40% owned. Kind of the same philosophy that I was talking about last week with, a few of those names that I mentioned. He's a good insurance policy if King Henry goes down. He probably would be one of the best, I think, backup running backs in the NFL right now. So I think he could have himself a good season if something were to happen to King Henry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of hype around him, and he's
yeah.
getting touches for sure. And Henry really
hmm
hasn't been that productive this year. So yeah, I think it's a good
Right.
pick.
Yeah. Especially in keeper leagues or dynasty leagues, things like that. It'd be a
That's
good
true.
one to,
Yeah, that's a good
to
point.
pick up, and then considering Henry might just retire or get traded or just, not get I don't know what if this is his last year of his contract. I'm really not sure what his contract situation is, but this could be his backfield moving forward. So
Yeah. I mean, the life expectancy of a running back is not too long. So yeah,
yeah.
it's a good idea, man. Maybe he's one to either start stashing now or stash towards the end of the year.
Yep.
With that in mind.
Definitely. How
Yeah.
about you? Who's your third running back, Greg?
I've got Antonio Gibson. Never really been a big Antonio Gibson fan. Kind of the same as Singletary, man. He's hit or miss, but his protection out of the backfield. Last 3 games he's had 5 or 6 targets coming out of the backfield, caught them all.
Yeah.
He's gotten 30 plus yards on those.
hmm
43% owned. Got the Giants coming up, so he'll be playing a JV team next week. He's a renter, I think, for next week for sure. I think he's
Yeah.
he'll probably get you anywhere from 15 to 20. I'll bet you next week.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, B-Rob looked incredible
Oh yeah,
yesterday on Sunday. Man, he got 30 fantasy points.
yeah,
So yeah, wow. That backfield, they got it rocking and rolling right now.
yeah,
So in the run game. So yeah, he'd be definitely a good one to look at for a rental, like you said.
yeah.
Okay, so my last running back I wrote down was Ty Chandler for the Vikings. He actually happens to be one of the guys that I rattled off last week, and as luck would have it, well, not lucky for Madison, but as luck would have it for anybody who picked up Ty Chandler for the Vikings, only 8% owned. He also would be another good 1 week rental. I think Madison has a concussion, and what I've seen so far in the NFL
Yeah,
is once you get that
exactly.
concussion, you're usually out for at least 1 week.
Yep.
The only guy that I've seen, come back from a concussion was Brock Purdy. I think he complained of concussion symptoms on the plane ride home, and then he ended up clearing the protocol and played that next weekend. But he's the only guy so far.
And
Everyone
it was
else
a
has
Monday
had a
night game.
concussion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
helped.
Everyone else who's had a concussion has always missed at least one game. So I think it's going to be the Ty Chandler show next weekend. As far as week 10 went, he did rush the ball 15 times for 45 yards and a touchdown. So he's a good rookie.
Yeah.
He might be all right.
I agree with you, man. He was my number 3 running back on the board too. So
Okay.
outside of those, I don't know what else is out there. There's not a ton to go get unless you find somebody that just drop somebody that's kind of pretty highly owned.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to wide receivers. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 written down. So you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I'll start off with a name we've mentioned a lot on this show. Of course, it's I got a need for Shaheed for the Saints. He's actually 51% on, so he's a little bit above our threshold, but he's still hovering in that 50% area. So Michael Thomas got arrested last Friday night for throwing a brick at a contractor or something stupid, and then he went off and got a high ankle sprain, the dreaded high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason why I'm bringing him up one more time, just because I think the usage is going to peak or uptick on his usage with no Michael Thomas. High ankle sprains, they could be 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, it's so basically last call on Shaheed. So
I'm right there with you, man. With Mike Thomas, a high ankle sprain usually means the season's over.
Especially that guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
He's just not really interested in playing football anymore. So he's pretty much just interested in the check. That's about it.
Yeah, exactly. The check and throwing bricks.
Exactly. So
whatever.
Yeah. Tape his paycheck to a brick and throw it through his window this weekend.
Right, no kidding. Yeah. Jackass.
Yeah, no kidding. No, I like that pick, man. That's good. I think it's he's been producing with Thomas on the field.
Yeah.
And if Jameis starts this next week, we'll see how Carr is. But if Jameis starts,
Right.
man, he'll let her rip. He's not
Yeah.
afraid to chunk the ball down the field. So you could see
Exactly.
another one of those games where he's got 3 catches for 150 yards. I like it.
Yep. Yeah, totally. I think Carr might be out for a week, but I don't know, man. I think the Saints might have a bye coming up. I'm really not sure what that's looking like.
I think you're actually
If
right.
it,
Yeah.
yeah, I think there might be the bye coming up this coming week. So
Yeah.
anyway, if you do get Shaheed, yeah, just be prepared to sit on him for at least a week. So
Yeah. Yep.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I've got Noah Brown. Yet another
Oh,
good
nice.
game.
Yep.
27% owned, 7 for 172 yards. Over the last 2 games, 13 catches, 325 yards, and a tutty.
Yep.
He's been catching fire for sure, and it helped with Nico Collins out, with a calf injury. But if Nico misses
Hmm.
any more time, or no one just might be replacing him. He looked strong out there.
Right.
He was when he
Yeah.
caught the ball, he caught it with authority and good run after the catch. So
Hmm.
yeah, he's definitely found his place in that offense, man. It looks like the Tank Dell and Noah Brown show there.
Yeah, totally agree, brother. I actually had him written down, and I had the exact same stats written down too to call out. So yeah, we're on the
Yeah,
same page there, 100%.
yeah,
It's time for folks to go ahead and take a chance on Noah Brown because him and Tank Dell, I think they're going to be taking over the AFC South. So
yeah,
looking strong,
yep,
absolutely.
100%.
Okay. Well,
Cool.
I also wrote down Brandon Cooks over
Hmm.
there for the Cowboys.
I had him too.
38% owned. I know we've talked about him a few times on the show so far this season, but wanted to call out Week 10. He saw 10 targets, caught 9 of them for 173 yards and a tutty. So he's putting up Tank Dell numbers himself. So
Yep.
looking great.
Yeah. No,
Yep.
he's looking good, man. Finally breaking out. Finally getting the attention he deserves in that backfield.
Yep.
Or, I mean, in the receiving corps there, man. And CeeDee
Right.
Lamb's on a tear too. CeeDee
Oh
Lamb
yeah.
is,
Big time.
he's looking like the best receiver in the league right now. Maybe outside of Tyreek
Yeah.
Hill.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's gonna draw some extra coverage too, and I think there's gonna be enough balls to go around for sure, man. Like really, it's CeeDee Lamb, Cooks, and Ferguson.
Yeah. Totally.
They're
Yeah.
not
He took
really throwing out of the backfield. You know,
definitely not. Yeah. Pollard definitely ain't eating. I mean,
yeah,
yeah. Well, he's struggling. So yeah, I think that like you just called it, man. It's in that order for sure. CeeDee Lamb, and then Cooks, and then Ferguson. So
yep,
yeah,
yeah.
very good. All right.
Cool. Well, I wrote down Demario Douglas. This is one of those
Okay.
addition by subtraction
Mm-hmm.
type of guys. And I'm not a Mac Jones fan at all.
Yeah.
And who knows, man? He may not even start. But if Zappy starts, then it may be even better for Mario Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to be like one of the last men standing there that can catch a football in New England. So he's going to get his
Yeah.
looks. 27% owned. He went 6 for 84 this year. Trips the last 3 games, the last 3 out of 4 games. He's played in. So he's
Yep.
somebody I think that can at least put up some fantasy numbers for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the Pats, they signed a couple of name brand receivers like Juju Smith-Schuster and
Mm-hmm.
Devontae Parker, and it seems like neither of them have really done much. I think they
Yeah.
just like to cash checks,
Yeah.
and just kind of hang around.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy's out there scrappy. He's wanting to to contribute to the Patriots. So yeah, I think
Yep.
that's a good pick there. All right. Next up, I wrote down Jaden Reed for the Packers, only 21% owned. So in Week 10, he went 5 for 5. So he caught all 5 of his targets for 84 yards and a touchdown. And the reason why I brought him up is because I've looked back at his production so far this season, and he's got 5 double-digit games and 4 single-digit Sam games. But he's got more double-digit games than he has single digits. So he might be a decent guy to pick up in a pinch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of looked at him. He had a decent game this last week. Several Packers did.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. I just struggle with that offense, man.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just. I think you called it earlier this year too. It was either Jalen Reed or was it Dobbs or somebody that was back and forth. Like you can't pick
Christian
the game.
Watson. Yeah.
Yeah, one
Just
of them. Yeah,
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, it was either Jalen Reed or Dobbs, either back and forth games. So
Yep.
yeah, we'll see if it's the Dobbs show next week. But yeah, I mean, Jaden Reed, if you're in like kind of a deeper league, maybe 14 team,
Yep.
something like that, and
Oh, I agree.
there's not a lot out there. Yeah, he'd be somebody to pick up. You
Yep.
know.
I agree with you.
Yeah. But yeah, probably not a 10 or 12 team league. Probably just leave him out there on the waiver wire. But
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Any
Got
other
one more?
receivers, Greg?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
One last one, and this one's definitely a rental, a 1 week rental. Trenton Irwin for the Bengals, only 8% owned. In week 10, he caught 2 of 4 targets for 54 yards and a touchdown. And it seems like, every time Higgins is out, then Trenton Irwin seems to get involved. I think Joe Burrow likes throwing to him. He's a guy who I think will get you double digits, in week 11 if you really need somebody. He's a good 1 week rental.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you're also 14 teams, something like that. You
right.
just really need somebody. You
Reaching
got
deep.
your starters on by. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It'll
Yeah.
get you by. Yep.
Cool.
So
Not bad, brother.
all right. How about tight ends? I only got one written down. How about you?
Yeah, I got 2 of them.
Okay. Yeah. Start us off.
Trey McBride, 50% owned, an 8 for 131. It seems to really be coming on, man. Like this guy has been, especially coming back. He found him right away.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good sign. I would anticipate the rest of the season him looking pretty solid, putting up double digits, sometimes getting in that 25, 30 point range.
Yeah, totally agree, brother. That's who I had written down as well. He's actually 59% on the Yahoo side, but I decided to go ahead and write him down anyway because, like you said, with Kyler Murray being back and Zach Ertz being on IR, I don't think ours is coming back this year. And so I think, McBride's going to be a solid contributor. He's the kind of guy, I think you can count on double digits as your floor. And then, like you said, 25 and up as the ceiling. So, yeah, he's going to be solid.
Agree. Yeah, I mean, he's good.
Yep.
Gets down the field, catches balls down the field, good after the catch. Yeah, I think he's an up-and-comer, man, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I got this one, man. This is a little bit of a flyer. I'm just calling this one. I'm just calling it.
Okay.
Tyler Conklin, 11% owned. He went 7 for 7 for 70 yards, so nice little average of 10 yards a catch. Week before, 6 for 6 for 66. He has not caught a tutty this year, so
right.
I feel like he's due. This game coming up, I think he might put up a tutty and still get you 50, 60 yards, 5 or 6 catches. I think he's due for a little bit of a breakout game. He's the number 2 receiver on the Jets behind Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, and I saw that Uzama caused a ton of penalties, in that last game, and so I think that Uzama may just be maybe get the bench, or if anything, blocking assignments only, no more penalties. If you do, then you're definitely getting the bench. But yeah, I mean we've seen Conklin break out, in years past, definitely last year for a little streak here and there, on a 2 or 3 game tear. So yeah, I like it. Yeah, like you said, he's due.
Yep.
That's good. Okay.
Calling for a breakout.
Yep. Very good. Yeah, you're the tight end whisperer, so yeah, I think I'll definitely play him in daily or something. See what it does.
Might as well.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about our hits and misses. So far, we're through 10 weeks of an 18-week season. So let's go back and talk about, some of the guys that we've recommended on the show so far that have been hits and which ones have been misses. And so I know you got your list too. Do you want to just run through your list and I'll run through mine?
Yeah, okay. I'll run through mine. As far as hits go, week 1 recommended Puka Nacua.
Yep.
He's been solid pretty much all year. Also recommended Laporta. I think Laporta has been one of the better tight ends this year. So, both those in week 1. If you listen to my advice, I took my advice for Laporta and wasn't able to get Puka Nacua. Like I didn't have the waiver wire order, so I wasn't able to get him on any of my squads. And then week 2 recommended C.J. Stroud, Zach Moss, and got a feeling. Those three have
Yep.
been solid all year. Moss is obviously with JT back is starting to take that backseat role, but up until then, man, he was a producer.
Yeah.
He was tearing it up. And then week 3 recommended A Chain. I think me and the rest of the country recommended A Chain in week 3.
Yeah.
So
Right.
but he's been solid. Can't wait for him to get back. Some misses. Cam Akers, I recommended him. I recommended him when he moved over to the Vikings, and of course then he tore his Achilles. So he was a bust. You
Yeah.
know, uh, when Eli Mitchell came back and McCaffrey was a little banged up, recommended Eli Mitchell. He has done jack squat all year,
Right.
which is kind of
Yeah.
surprising, man. He's a good back. I don't know why they. I don't know what he did. He pissed somebody off or something.
Yep.
DeMarcado in Arizona, he looked like he might
Mm-hmm.
have some flash of brilliance, and he has turned out to be everything but that. He's been just
A dud.
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a dud.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one, it's not as fair, but born in New England, recommended him, and then
Yeah.
he got hurt. So
Right. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
somebody would have wasted a waiver wire pick on that, it would have been a waste. But he was kind of off to a pretty decent season.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally agree, brother. Yeah, I actually had some of those guys, ready to talk about too. And as far as Puka goes, I mean, like week 1 is when he broke out, and so that's when we're playing these teams that we just drafted, and normally right after you draft, your leagues, like you're thinking, all right, these are the guys I drafted, I'm gonna roll with them,
Yeah.
like I guess like because usually you're kind of feeling pretty good about your draft. I guess if you came out of a draft just feeling really bad about it and didn't like any of the picks you got, then I think that would be a time, or that would be a situation where I would have pulled the trigger on Puka Nuka and then just dropped my
Yeah, it's
worst
a good
player
point.
on my bench.
Right. Yeah.
But I was still confident at that point.
Mm-hmm.
After week 1, thinking okay, yeah, this could be a one hit wonder. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to stick with who I drafted. And that's why I didn't chase them.
Yep.
But looking back, I probably should have. But how would we know?
Yeah.
He's a rookie, so none of us really knew if that was a one hit wonder or what. And everybody thought, well, with Cup coming back, this ain't gonna last. So there
Yep.
was a lot of pessimism there, right?
For sure.
But yeah, I'm with you, man. But we talked about him right after week 1. We also talked, like you said, CJ Stroud. I know I talked about him week 2, and I think if whatever early,
Mm-hmm.
and so same thing with Zach Moss. Talked about him after week 2. Adam Thielen after week 3, and then A Chain after week 3. Like you said, yeah, everybody's on the A Chain train. So yeah, looking good. But yeah, I also had DeMarcado written down there. But what I did was I went back and just looked at all the guys that I mentioned, that I wrote down and brought to the table
Mm-hmm.
on the show, and I know you just did the same thing. But it looks like I had 13 hits and 23 misses.
Yeah.
And so there's still a few players out there that the jury's still out. People
Right.
like Kyler Murray, they're just getting back in the fold. So I didn't bring him back to the table yet because we don't know yet.
Yeah.
But I think that I can definitely say that 13 of these are hits. And then 20, 30, 23, I mean, we've seen enough out of a lot of these guys to know that they're just that didn't pan out, or they're not gonna pan out. So
Yeah.
the way I look at it, that's 36% success rate. So if you're stepping up to the plate and batting a 360 batting average, you're a Hall of Famer, right? So we're definitely bringing some good players to the table. But I'll go ahead and just kind of rattle through some of these. Shaheed, somebody I'm still recommending here after week 10. He's the wide receiver 16.
Yeah.
So in a 14-man league, or even in a 12-man league, he's definitely a wide receiver 2. He's hanging in there. The Gus Bus, I brought him to the table after week 1. He's the RB 17. So in top 24 in a 12-man league, or even in a 10-man league, he'd be an RB 2.
Yeah.
And so I'll kind of skip over the guys we just talked about, but Tank Dell, I brought him to the table after week 2. He's the wide receiver 21, on the season, so he's definitely right there as a wide receiver 2. Taysom Hill, brought him to the table after week 2. He's the tight end 9. So I know your thoughts on him, but Josh Dobbs, we talked about him several times. I mean, the earliest was after week 4, but he's the QB10 on the season.
Yeah.
Dalton Schultz, talked about him after week 4. He's the tight end 7. Josh Downs, I know we brought him up, and I don't know. I mean, if he's a wide receiver 33, so he's serving you up as a wide receiver 3, top 36, So, and then McBride, we brought him to the table after week 8, so here we are, through week 10, but he's the tight end 15 already on the league, so. But some of the misses, I mean, I talked about Mac Jones. I mean, he's a QB 22. That's terrible. Tutu Atwell, he's a wide receiver 45 on the league so far. That didn't pan out. Gainwell, he started off hot with that big game, and then didn't pan out. He's the running back 48 on the league. Josh Kelly, he's the running back 52, just not panning out there. Rokon Johnson, RB51, that didn't work out. Hayden Hurst, I mean, he had a big, week 1, tight end 30. That went nowhere. Russell Wilson, QB17, no thanks.
Yeah.
Matt Stafford, I know you just brought him up tonight. I mean, he's the QB21 so far on the season, but, he could have a good second half of the season. So Marvin Mims, he's a wide receiver 70. That obviously did not work out.
Yeah.
Had a couple of good games at the beginning, but that just fizzled out. Matt Breida, we talked about, when what's his name went out. Anyway, RB58, he definitely did not step up when the Giants RB went down.
Like, where the heck is he?
And then and then Luke Musgrave, tight end 22, that didn't work out. He's the Packers rookie. It's just not working out.
Yeah.
Tight end 22, you can do better. Zach Ertz, tight end 24, he's out on IR. So DJ Chark, wide receiver 72. I mean, that didn't pan out. Jerick McKinnon, RB 47. So that's just not working out. Easy E, he's the RB 37. You don't want him anywhere near your roster. Donald Parham, tight end 25. I mean, no good. You can do better out there. Jamal Williams, he's somebody I had high hopes for, to start the season with AK on the shelf for 3 games. I kind of thought Jamal Williams would do pretty good like he did in Detroit last year. Yeah, but man, he's the RB 75 on the season so far. So terrible waiver wire fodder. Jeff Wilson. We also thought maybe something might pop with him. With A-Chain on the shelf, he's the running back 88. That ain't happening. Jaleel McLaughlin. We kind of talked about him a little bit. When Williams went down. He's the RB 44. So no need for him.
Nope.
Baker, we've talked about Baker a lot. He's the QB 14. In a super flex 2 QB league, you can own Baker, but in a 10, 12-man league, his services are no longer desired.
Right.
You already talked about DeMarcado, RB 56, no thanks. Derek Carr, kind of similar to Baker, QB 19 on the season. So and then Desmond Ridder, I don't know why I ever brought him up, but QB 25. So so 23 misses, 13 hits, but in order to do this, you just got to keep stepping up to the plate, and swinging at strikes, my man. So.
I mean, that's what it is, man. Like you should have 3 players.
Yep.
3 players out of your draft that are solid, that get you your 20 points a game. And then you're trying to fill in those gaps, and if you got somebody that gets you 15 points a game, keep them, and that's what this is just trying to fill in those gaps, fill in those bye week gaps and things like that, so whether they're RB number 50, if they fill the gap and get you 20 points in that week, man, I don't care if they're RB 150 if they serve my purpose for that one week.
Exactly.
I think one we left off, man, is Sam Howell. Like we really didn't even talk about him, but number 3 in QB number 3 in the league right now.
He's definitely a hit, man. For sure.
Well, he's effective, man.
Yeah, exactly. He's definitely the Geno Smith of this season. So very good. So
cool.
All right, brother.
Stuff,
well,
man.
listen, let's we'll call it a night and enjoy watching the games on Thursday night and next weekend. And we'll be back at you next Monday night.
That's right. All right, brother. Good luck out there on the waiver wire.
You know it. Peace.
All right. See ya.